Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, a chapter entitled The Process of Creation. So I thought we would have a little bit of a change of scenery today. Sometimes my talking is a little boring, and although the subject matter is enthralling, the speaker is not so professional, so therefore I thought maybe give you a change of backdrop. Today I'm going to be repeating this chapter 4. I recorded the whole thing yesterday, and wanting to give you guys a bit of fun, I recorded it in a different location, and unfortunately the sun was out and I was sweating trying to, as I am now, trying to do the recording for you, and unfortunately the camera overheated and shut down, so I lost everything. So I'll go through everything again today and hope I can say something nice on behalf of Vyasadeva and all the acharyas, and to assist you people to understand something of Vyasadeva's words according to these four processes of Shabda Brahman, which I have spoke about in the introduction. If you're watching this and you haven't seen the introduction yet, please go over to the playlist that mentions introduction. I think there's 10 different videos there. Maybe they're not so long, but like 10-15 minutes in length each one, and they explain exactly about how I'm going to present this series of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's something quite unique there to understand, to learn, and then that will help you better understand the way I'm presenting. So let us begin. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nastya pravesya bhadresyu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamas loke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate Vasudevaya. My regular attendance in the Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is such a wonderful literature, all the impurities of the heart disappear, and loving devotional service to the Lord is established as an irrevocable fact. And by coming to classes, we have this revolution in the heart that is being discussed in the first few chapters of this second canto. So this two slokas by Sri Narad are very nice to recite. Now we'll offer our respectful obeisances to our spiritual master. Agyan Tirmyandasya Gena Gena Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. So I pay my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Vyasadeva, unto my spiritual master, unto all spiritual masters, who all open my eyes, which were darkened by ignorance, with this torchlight of knowledge, which is the beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam and other instructions that are that have the sole purpose of leading us back to Lord Krishna's lotus feet. So their purpose is one. You may remember I spoke about the Vyasadeva speaking in a certain voice. You have an author who writes in the first voice or the second voice, which is not so common, or then the third voice in which he's looking in, or the first voice in which he's a character within the... Or then I mentioned about this fourth voice, and the fourth voice is quite specific in that it can come from many different points of view, perspectives, but it all leads to a whole, a picture of a complete whole, and that whole picture is the same view coming from all different people. Therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva has written in this fourth voice, where you hear from different sages like Maitreya Rishi, like Lord Brahma himself, like Srila Sukadev, like Srila Vyasadeva, Sri Narad, all the great acharyas that are within the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bharat Maharaj, the nine Yogendras, the four Kumaras, Lord Shiva himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, Balaram. Lord Balaram also gives teachings in there. So many teachings that all from the same perspective give the same understanding, and Vyasadeva offers that to us in the way of he allows them to speak for themselves. He introduces them and then allows them to speak in the form of stories or teachings or parables sometimes. So it's very nice that we're fortunate to hear about that. I spoke about it in depth yesterday and it was all destroyed. But anyway, I've just touched upon it today to help you understand. So previously we heard from Shaunaka Rishi, who was introducing Sutta Goswami to please speak on subject matters that we long to hear. Before that we heard Maharaj Pariksit, who was also introducing Sukadev Goswami and requesting that he speaks on topics that are worthy to hear for a dying man. And then we heard the teachings coming from Srila Sukadev Goswami and Srila Vyasadeva, Vedavyas. So more you hear questions from a questioner and answers from a teacher, a student and a teacher. And so that way you can understand a little who's speaking, but you have to think about it. And Vyasadev's wrote Srimad Bhagavatam in the way that it allows your intellect to go inside and ponder the meanings of slokas and the way things are written. And it's very nice to do that. That's the madhyam process of madhyama, which means to try and find the Lord according to the process of Shabda Brahman, using the intellect to search for the Lord. It's highly recommended. So text 1, Srila Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Pariksit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the speeches of Sukadev Goswami, which were all about the truth of the self, applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Krishna. Text 2, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, Maharaj Pariksit was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom. So here we find that Maharaj Pariksit was a great soul and he was satisfied with his life up till that point. And when the Brahmin boy cursed him, he accepted that as being his fate. His lot in life was completed. And he was only too happy to focus on the Supreme Lord at the time, the hour of need, shall we say. So he concentrated perfectly with full attention on the delineation of the Lord's glories given by Sukadev, and that enabled him to actually cross over the entire material ocean and rest his head at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And before he left, he asked permission from his spiritual master, Srila Sukadev, if he would be allowed to close his life and rest his head at the lotus feet of the Lord. And Srila Sukadev gave permission. It was very beautiful, the end of Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 3 and 4. O great sages, the great soul Maharaj Pariksit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna, and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. So yes, the student asks questions, so therefore we can differentiate who's speaking in the way of, are they actually asking questions? And the master then will answer. And we're fortunate enough to have many masters here in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we're also fortunate enough to have such a great speaker on behalf of us, Maharaj Pariksit, and also Shaunaka Rishi on behalf of the sages, who asks very pertinent, beautiful questions. Then we have Vidura, who asks some amazing questions. Then we have Uddhava, who asks amazing questions, and in between we have people like King Rahugana, who plays a specific role and asks wonderful questions. Then we have personalities like Daksha Maharaj, who play a specific role in order to bring about a certain teaching. King Paranjana, who is an allegorical story, he plays a role to bring about certain teachings, and we get to hear all of this. It's wonderful. So what's going on here is that Maharaj Pariksit is giving up all acts of religion. Therefore, he didn't bother anymore. Once he'd given his kingdom to his sons, Janmejaya, and he said goodbye to his wife and other family members, he then peacefully applied himself diligently to hearing the loving pastimes of the Lord and giving up all desires for any further fruitive activities, to move further in the material world. He didn't want to follow the path of Karmakanda to go to the higher planets. No, he'd resigned himself to attaining the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, quite rightly, he gave up performing all other acts of religion and just simply focused on the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you may remember in the introduction I mentioned about Manasa Seva, how this is devotional service, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and Lord Krishna mentions this at the end of the Bhagavad Gita as well. Those who fix their minds upon me worship me by their intelligence, and then they attain the highest planetary systems if they don't make it to perfection. So they're great souls. Maharaj Pariksit made it all the way. So text 5 says, so now we're hearing a different voice. Text 4 ended with Sudha Goswami, and of course we're still hearing from Sudha Goswami in the refrain of Maharaj Pariksit. So Sudha Goswami said, Maharaj Pariksit said. Do you follow the statements there? Maharaj Pariksit said, O learned Brahmana, you know everything because you are without material contamination. Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance, for you are narrating the topics of the Lord. Yes, Prabhupada used to say, where there's sunlight, there can't be darkness. I apologize, the sun is now shining in my eyes, so if you see me squinting, you understand that I'm doing this to try and give you a nice backdrop. And I hope the camera does not get too hot again. I may just stop the class at one point and check and then restart the class if it's okay. So whatever Sukadev Goswami has said, it sits perfectly in the heart of Maharaj Pariksit, because it's about the Supreme Lord and he knows it's all perfect. Text 6. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead by his personal energies creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. He would like to know about the universes, so we're going to hear a lot about that. In chapter 8, we're going to have a long list of questions given by Maharaj Pariksit, and those questions will take us right up till Canto 12. They'll take us up to Canto 5, where we hear about the universes. Here he wants to know about how's the creation going on, and later he wants to know the specifics of how the planets are situated in the universe. What is their exact position? Please inform me of that, he asks. So he wants to know, how can we understand this world in relation to the Lord when it's inconceivable even to the great demigods? And the great demigods, of course, if they want to know the Lord, the universe in relation to the Lord, they have to become servants of the Lord. So this is how you will understand the universe and actually cross over the material universe, by simply being surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord and taking instructions from the great sages and offering your service to the Lord with love. Text 7. Kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all-powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. Yes, we hear also about the Lord, another analogy, how the Lord spins the universe like a spider would spin his web. He creates the universe, and then after utilizing it for some time, he withdraws it. And here we're hearing how he expands the material world by his different energies, his different expansions. That's people who are called Shaktivesh avatars and Guna avatars, and the direct expansions of the Lord, Leela avatars. And then he retracts it as if it was all just a game, just the Lord's playing field, just the Lord's creation in a dream, and then gone. So we can learn from this that once we find our position in the dream, it is like the different molecules and atoms within our own body that are finding the correct place in relation to the Lord. And then we'll have no disease in the body, and we can then leave the body and go back to home, back to Godhead. Text 8. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful, and they appear inconceivable, because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. So you may have a philosopher, and in the old days the Greek philosophers, they used to be very keen intellects and note the activities of mankind and note the activities of the universe, etc., and then philosophize. And in fact, the idea of this word physics, which means the rules that underpin the universe, so to speak, maybe the gross physical universe, they came from this Greek word called physis. So physis meant to search for the Lord, to actually try and find some provable data that will explain the truth about the Lord, that the Lord is real. And of course modern physics has been taken over by demons, and they try and use material laws and make up material laws, like these ideas of gravity and these ideas of the theory of light by Einstein, etc. They just make them up as they go along, trying to explain away the personality of Godhead, and then they'll put counter quotes out to show that Einstein, etc., was really a godly man, but they'll take this one thing and they'll use it in order to disprove the Lord. And then of course you have outright atheists in the disguise of scientists, and they say everything began with a black hole and some primordial, they use primordial explosion, and inert gases somehow became intelligent, and then they sprung flippers or something and went in the ocean, then they sprung feet and came out of the ocean, and they started walking around on 2 legs instead of 4, etc. And the theory of evolution goes on, and I don't know how the trees came out of that one, but anyway, evolution is there from the ocean apparently. And Neanderthal man crops in not long ago. I don't know what happened to Vedic literatures, which predate Neanderthal man by a long, long way. And what happened to Lord Krishna's time just 5,000 years ago, when everything was very structured in the society. Of course, what you have is you have technological advancement by these demoniac scientists, and that goes hand in hand with the degradation of culture. So as culture degrades, humanity is actually dying. They're not going forwards, they're going backwards. Text 9. Text 8. I'll read one more part of that. I'll explain one more part. So some endeavors by these scholars have proved insufficient for understanding the transcendental activities of the Lord. So Daksha Maharaj, in his Hamsaguhya prayers, he mentions about this, that the atomistic philosophers, and now you have even further, you have the string theory beyond the atoms, the theory of the 11 dimensions in the universe. Now you have this multiverse theories going on. So Daksha Maharaj mentions that each person's theory that they put up, they just end up arguing and how would you say, somehow not working in perfect harmony with the other person, and they just counteract each other with some arguments and end up a mishmash where no one can understand anything. That's just like the internet, you get one truth put out, and then another truth, and then another truth, and another truth, and they're all so-called truths, but they're just part of a huge scheme of lies that's put out as information and then misinformation, and then anyway, it's just meant to baffle everyone so no one can understand the actual truth. But Srimad Bhagavatam is always here. So we're fortunate enough to have the Supreme Truth with us that will always stay here after the departure of Lord Krishna. And I hope you devotees are kind enough to give this to others. I know I'm not a very good speaker, but if you feel inclined, then please share this. You hear these things, like and subscribe, and please share. So, in that refrain, please share this with others that might benefit from it. And if you can give Srimad Bhagavatam to anyone in any form, it might even be one sloka, and that will help people, then good. Well done. Keep it up. Text 9. The Supreme, not only keep it up, but improve on it. Go further and further. Text 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature, or simultaneously expands in many forms, or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. So here we have the delineation of course, the Lord is Ekavana, he is one. So we have the Lord's philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. So we're simultaneously one with the Lord and we're different. And then you have this impersonal concept that we are all part of the one homogeneous blob that's trying to look on itself in intelligent ways and perceive itself and move up the ladder of evolution until we finally understand the whole universe, which is, of course, Brahman, the Mahatattva. So the modern thinkers think that the next level of evolution for mankind is the mind, the mental level. So they believe that they should cross our children with with artificial intelligence and make some cyborgs and have the kids and other people in a room plugged into a machine that's run by artificial intelligence, and then they'll have some imaginary world and do things in the world in the form of robots or something that are acting in the outside world while they're just in the inside world experiencing the feelings. And they call this advancement. This is why these jabs are going in. It's all a part of a greater scheme, and people are falling for it. And more fool them. Whoever gets these injections may end up in a very bad way pretty soon. So anyway, you've been warned many times, because the truth is out there from many angles, and if people keep on ignoring it, then it's okay. It's everybody's choice. But certainly nobody needs to fear a flu virus like they think they do. They're in such illusion. And if they think, well, we're doing these things because the government tells us, what are you doing it for? To go and get your job? Well, you already had your job. The government says if you don't take this injection, you won't go to work. But you already had your job before, so taking the injection gives you nothing extra. So in other words, you're just being bought like a peasant, like a slave, that they're treating everyone as peasants, and people are falling for it. They're all part of a big experiment. Text 9, the Supreme Lord is one, whether he alone acts with the modes of nature. So that's the three modes of nature. Or he expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. So that's Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu as the guna avatars. Or he may expand as the demigods, the 11 primary demigods, and then all the demigods on Bhumandala, and then all the powerful demons, because don't forget, for every demigod you have an equal and opposite demoniac force that is just as powerful. And we learn that in the story of the battle between the demigods and demons on the Milky Ocean. They fought together and they had an equal partner. So that teaches us very well that there are, just as powerful forces in the dark side. Or, anyway, let's read on. Text 10. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries. So what's the inquiries? Does the Lord act as this or that? Is the Lord is actually still one, we know that, but what is the actual situation in the universe in relation to the Lord? Because everything appears inconceivable unless it's taught to us by one who knows. You know the Tadvidi Pariprasena Sevaya Upadikshyanti, you know this verse. So just try to approach a self-realized soul. He'll impart knowledge to you because he's seen the truth. So in this way, one who's seen the truth, or also you have that verse from Lord Chaitanya which mentions that the truth is held, or the religious principles, so that's the truth of course, in the heart of pure devotee. Like you have Madhavendra Puri, for example. So his actions show everything. So text 10 says, kindly clear up these doubts, because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literature and self-realized in transcendence. So there's two very good things. He knows the Vedic literature, and he's realized it, and he's always also self-realized from the transcendental platform. He's an Atmaram Vaishnav. Although he was an impersonalist, the moment he understood about Krishna, then he changed his camp like the four Kumaras did. And of course this is a pastime. Sukadev Goswami, we know, is Radharani's parrot that's descended from Goloka Vrindavan, especially for our benefit to recite this wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam. And then it says, text 10 says, but you're also a great devotee of the Lord. That's what I mentioned. Therefore, you're as good as the personality of Godhead. So here we understand that one who is a pure representative of the Lord is none different, just as an iron rod in fire becomes like fire. You have the fire, you have the iron rod separately. When the two come in contact, then the iron rod heats up and it takes on the qualities of that. So not that a person is the Supreme Lord, although in relation to Brahman he is the spiritual energy, but he's also separated, so then he can do an activity on behalf of the Lord, and that activity has been requested by Maharaj Pariksit. Please explain this. Give us this shabda, give us this sambandha gyan, this sambandha abhidhem prayojan. Give us everything. We want all of these things. We want this Vaikarika information in our ears. We want this madhyam level in the heart, Vaikarika and para sound vibration. We want everything so we can go in and in through the nadis and in through the shushumna until we reach Brahman, and then further, because by being seated in our loving relationship of the Lord, then the Lord will manifest to us in the mood that we worship the Lord. So we pray to, and this Maharaj Pariksit kind of in that refrain, we pray to just understand things and from you as a pure devotee. So text 11, and this was being told in the refrain of Sudha Goswami mentioning it. So now we're back to Sudha Goswami speaking. Sudha Goswami said, when Sukadev Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the created energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. He spoke as follows. So I will end it there, and I will check the cameras not overheating again, because yesterday I did the entire thing and lost it all. So if it's okay, I will continue again immediately. So Om Tat Sat, we'll offer that up and we will do another. One moment. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please join in for the part B of this. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.